Drums are another key element in hip-hop. Depending on the style, drums might sound very different. Lo-fi tends to have a bit chiller drums, whereas trap drums tend to be harder hitting. Drums are typically the primary rhythmic element in a track. They don't usually have a distinct pitch to them, so the focus is on the rhythm. When you're programming your drums, try to focus on creating unique and interesting rhythms. Vary the loop so that it keeps it interesting. Experiment until you get something that sounds exciting to you. You can always use hi-hat and top loops to get inspiration as well, and you can chop them up and rearrange them to make them your own. A good exercise for practicing rhythm is to recreate the drums from some of your favorite records. Try to get them as close as possible to the same exact rhythms, and you'll learn a ton about how to get the vibes you like for your drums. So that's the first thing to focus on with drums, the rhythm. When producers say they want better sounding drums, this probably means that they don't like the drums they currently have. They might say things like, the kick doesn't punch through the mix, the snare falls flat. These are indicators that you need a different sample. Another meaning is that the drums sound good, but they just want them to sound a little punchier, a little tighter, a little harder. This is usually achieved through processing. So the first step to getting better sounding drums is to decide if you need to choose different samples or if you want a slightly better sound. Try to find samples that get you 95% of the way there. This is critical. Don't be afraid to swap out samples and try other things. It might make your beat that much better. Let's assume you've got great samples selected and you just want to make them a little better sounding. Here's some tips for that. First, try the Transient Shaper plugin from Kilohertz. This is an insanely great sounding transient shaper that can add the right amount of punch. I also like to add it to claps and snares sometimes, and actually just pull the sustain down on those. It makes them even crisper. Another processing trick, try loading up virtual tape machines on your kick and it'll add some warmth in the lows. Try using Virtual Mix Rack on your drum bus to get tons of warmth and vibe. The FGN is great, especially just boosting the highs and lows slightly to get a bit more excitement out of your drums. The Brit N console model on Virtual Console Collection is another favorite of top producers. This thing sounds fat and punchy. If you're trying to get smooth and warm lo-fi drums, the filters in Infinity EQ are unmatched in quality, especially useful for taming lo-fi hi-hats if you want a darker vibe. Make sure to always roll off the low frequencies of any track that you don't want the lows from. Hi-hats are surprisingly guilty of these super low frequencies. So those are some great processing tips for drums. Experiment with them to make your drums sound that much better. The level of your drums depends on the style of beat you're making. Typically, lo-fi beats have some more laid-back, blended-in drums that don't stick out too far from the rest of the instruments, whereas trap beats have harder-hitting, louder drums that might be much louder than other melodic elements in the beat. If you want your drums to be punchier, and you're confident of the sample selection and processing, then you probably just need to turn them up in level. This will make them feel much punchier. So those are some key tips for working with drums. Experiment with them and you'll see how we apply them as I make a few different beats in this course. So if you're ready to take your beats to the next level and produce music that is more creative and inspiring, then take the Hip Hop Production Masterclass, now available exclusively at Slate Academy. As a part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass, which includes over $5,000 of award-winning plugins, the industry's most powerful new synth, Anna 2, masterclasses taught from some of the biggest pros in the industry, and so much more, all starting at just $9.99 per month.